this, but it's good to brush up on it. So obviously, there's a lot of benefits to stretching. You two know that, and primarily in the gym, we're using it more to as like a preventative injury prevention kind of thing, right? So like we're working with clients. Obviously, it can help recovery, which we'll talk about more of the benefits. Um, it can help you coordinate movements better. But again, the main thing, a lot of people get debilitated down the road because they just are so inflexible, and people don't think about how functional being flexible makes you. And and I've in 20 years just working with people, I've seen so many instances where like someone falls or something, right? And the injury, and it might sound silly, but the injury is actually way worse than it would have been had they been flexible. Let's say because the way they're landing, the lack of range of motion, they're more likely to tear stuff and strain stuff and pull stuff and stuff like that, right? Um, and then even just moving, man, I got people that part of it is they're just weaker over the years. They haven't done this stuff consistently, like strength training and staying consistent with their exercise. But because they're inflexible too, it's hard for them to get like up and down off the ground. Like if they get down there, it's like they can barely get back up because they can't put their leg under their body, just shit like that, right? So um typically what a trainer will do is like do an assessment, like I use this overhead squat assessment where we would look at what's called your postural deviation. So we just look at your body, see how it's moving, and then take some notes on that. And using those notes, we can come up with like a routine where we're correcting those deviations. And what that means is basically if you have a deviation, usually it's like you're weak in certain areas, you're too tight in certain areas, your posture's off. Who's that? Brittany's. I can't today. I'm actually at work. Oh yeah, Brittany's at work. Okay. Um, your posture's also means you're not coordinating movements the right way. And like I was talking to you this morning about your rotator, if your rotator's weak, when you're trying to move your upper body and you're doing movements, it dynamically stabilizes that joint. So if it's weak, it's not going to stabilize it the right way, and you can have impingement. And, it's pinching the nerves and stuff like that. But anyways, that stuff can lead to injury, right? And so by correcting it, your posture's better, your coordination's better, you're less likely to get those injuries, those strains, those pulls, those tears, and all that stuff. And so usually it's like a multifaceted approach. We're going to stretch. We teach you how to stretch. You also theoretically should be training the what's called the antagonist muscle, like the opposing muscle. Whatever muscle's tight, you train the opposing muscle, and that will lengthen out your tight muscle, right? And then also you would do some foam rolling, which is not stretching. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, but it can help your flexibility because it keeps the fascia around the muscles loose, gets any kind of knots and anything like that in the fascia out of those muscles. Okay, and so that makes you guys basically move better and be more loose. Okay, so um, first off, let me get to these notes. Can you guys see that on the screen? You see that right there? It's talking about muscles that are inflexible. I'll read it to you. Don't worry. Muscles that are inflexible tire more quickly, causing opposing muscle groups to work harder. What's going on over there, Reed? Muscle fatigue can lead to muscular injuries and the inability of the muscles to protect joints from more severe injuries. For example, the hamstrings play a role in stabilizing the knee and preventing ACL tears. So, that's pretty much kind of just summarizing what I just said. Um, and emphasizing the importance of staying loose throughout your age. Oh, some other things too, to keep in mind. There's a couple little tips in order to increase the flexibility. When you guys are training, when you're doing your strength training, it's very important to train through a full range of motion. I try to tell you guys that at the park while we're going, right? Full range, because there is some evidence that suggests that if you are training through a shortened range of motion, it can actually shorten your muscles over time and decrease the flexibility. And then vice versa. If you're training through a full range of motion, that can increase the flexibility over time. So, try to be mindful of that. And then also try not to be in certain positions for like long, prolonged periods, like especially seated. Especially seated. You ever sit in a car like for hours and try to get out of the car?
Even 1 minute.
Yeah, and you can like barely move, right?
Yes.
So yeah, like the thing, like your hip flexors can get shortened that way. A lot of bicyclists, they're leaning forwards, like in that position, so they have a lot of issues with that. So yeah, That's another thing to keep in mind. So hey, we're gonna start because there's like maybe 4 videos here. So I'm gonna start the first one. And again, oh, hang on, let me share my screen real quick. One participant. 1 second. Let me see. I've done this every time and I still okay. Share the screen and desktop. Okay. So you can see this desktop, right? You too? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so just try to listen to this one. This is a TED Talk. It's like 5 minutes, I think. And then normally we would have like a little discussion after these videos, but these are just kind of more informative. I mean, if you have something to say, you can. Okay, let's see here. Oh, it's taking a second. All right, we're getting there, you two. We're getting there. This is not one you would like participate in. This is just kind of talk to you about the benefits and stuff like that. If it ever loads. What in the world? Hang on. Okay, here we go. How stretching actually changes your muscles. Let's listen to this. Hey, and let me know if you can't hear it when I play it. Here we go. Okay. Uh-oh. I can't hear that either. Okay, here, hang on. Why is it doing that? Okay, you hear that? You're good? Okay. All right. Just listen up. See what they have to say on it.
Here we have an athlete preparing for a game. They've put on their gear and done their warm up, and now it's time for one more routine: stretching. Typically, athletes stretch before physical activity to avoid injuries like muscle strains and tears. But does stretching actually prevent these issues? And if so, how long do the benefits of stretching last? To answer these questions, we need to know what's actually happening in the body when we stretch. There are two kinds of stretching our athlete might be doing: dynamic stretches, which are controlled movements that engage a range of muscles throughout the motion, and static stretches, where the stretcher holds a position to keep specific muscles at a fixed length and tension. Our athlete is currently doing a static hamstring stretch, a 30-second interval where he pulls his hamstring beyond its usual range of motion. However, while we often think of stretching a muscle like stretching a rubber band, muscles are actually comprised of various tissue types which interact to make a complex material. Rubber is elastic, meaning it resists being stretched and then returns to its original shape. But muscle is viscoelastic. This means that in addition to those elastic qualities, muscle changes under the stress of being stretched. Let's see this in action. At the large scale, this hamstring stretch is pulling on layers of protective tissue surrounding the muscle fibers, as well as the tendons that connect this muscle to nearby bones. These tissues contain elastic proteins like collagen and elastin, which allow them to slightly elongate over the duration of the stretch. At the smaller scale, these skeletal muscle fibers are comprised of millions of sarcomeres, the smallest contracting unit of muscle tissue. Sarcomeres' long fibrous proteins can relax to elongate muscle fibers, or they can contract to shorten them, pulling on tendons and protective tissue to create the force propelling our athlete's body. And when those tissues have been stretched out, they retain their strength at longer lengths, allowing our athlete to take full advantage of his improved range of motion. Unlike a rubber band, this muscle's resistance to stretching decreases with each 30-second stretch, allowing our athlete to continually elongate his hamstring. And this improved flexibility likely decreases the chance of incurring certain muscle injuries. But due to muscles' elastic properties, this effect will be gone in just 10 minutes without further activity. The exercise from his match should elevate his muscle's temperature and continue elongating the muscle, maintaining his increased flexibility throughout the game. But once he gives his hamstrings a break, they'll retract back to their previous state. So if all this is just temporary, how can you permanently improve your flexibility? For skeletal muscles, improved flexibility comes from additional sarcomeres, which allow you to maintain strength at even greater lengths. Sarcomeres are added and subtracted to muscles depending on how frequently they're used. So, improving overall flexibility requires a comprehensive stretching regimen. Plus, you need to stretch often, very often. Current research suggests at least 10 minutes a day for roughly 2 months. And since it's unsafe to hold any stretch for too long, it's recommended that you break up your stretching within any given session. Frequent stretching also makes lasting changes to your brain. The more you stretch a muscle, the higher your pain threshold becomes, allowing you to stretch further and further. Long-term improvements to your flexibility can provide a better range of motion for your joints, potentially reducing your risk of muscle injury in the short and long term. But it's also possible to stretch too much, as flexible people can move their joints in potentially dangerous ways. Stretching also isn't helpful for every kind of movement, especially those where muscle injuries aren't very common. For example, long-distance running only involves a small range of motion for the joints involved, so stretching is unlikely to prevent that sport's most common injuries. When it comes down to it, different lifestyles require different kinds of mobility, and no single stretching regimen is flexible enough to fit every situation.
Okay, that was that. Let me get out of here. Oh, hang on 1 second. Okay, what do you think about that, you two? What do you think about that?
Well, that makes sense. Like, you know, if you get flexible, you can do better dance moves.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. I thought it was cool how which I did not know, it increases your pain threshold.
Yeah, that's probably just like, you know, working out in general too, you know.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
just,
working out did that, but stretching I did not. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Now, just come.
So,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
um, but I've always heard you tell us to stretch after we work out, and
Yeah.
he kind of was like saying you should stretch before like your soccer match or whatever.
Did
Like,
he?
so do you?
Did he say that? I don't.
I mean,
I wasn't.
he
I
used,
wasn't. I was kind
Says
of multitasking.
before, and then the other dynamic stretching after, right?
Other way around. But actually, I was just
Oh.
going to touch on that a little bit. So, generally, like, yes, growing up, you learn how to stretch as a warm up and shit like that. Now we know there's several reasons why that's not the best practice. So, for one, if you don't warm up first, there's different kinds of warm ups, right? There's something called a general warm up, which is just basically like cardio or something, just getting your circulation going, your blood flow going. And then local warm up is like warming up the areas that are going to be involved in whatever you're doing. All right, so that could be like what Lauren was saying, like dynamic stretching, where you're just kind of taking those muscles through a range of motion without holding it. And then dynamic stretching is one way, or just doing like lighter reps, right? Like if you're gonna work a muscle group, you know, you can do a local warm up by grabbing a really really light bar or whatever, really light dumbbells, and going through that range of motion, kind of like dynamic stretching with the weight. But there's definitely science behind the importance of warming up. And one thing, kind of like an engine or like a machine, the more you warm up, the more viscosity you get, like in your joints, and everything gets more loose, right, and warm. So that's a safer time to stretch is after you warm up.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to do all that shit before the warm up, there is a potential, chance for injury, just because everything's tighter.
right.
Also, I think this is like, I think they're referring to more like extreme examples. But if you do get too flexible prior to strength training specifically, supposedly it can temporarily weaken you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it kind of does because obviously strength training is contracting your muscles, and if you and this is just my theory on it, and if you're too flexible, you're not getting probably as good at contractions and stuff like that. I would think, but so usually what you want to do is I'm trying to tell you guys is warm up, workout, cool down, and then stretch. Now, like people that are really adamant on stretching prior to the workout, you still should warm up first, my opinion, and then stretch. But I've always heard that dynamic stretching is better. Dynamic stretching is where you're not holding it. Static is where you hold it. Dynamic stretching is where you don't hold it, but you're taking your muscles through a range of motion. Another thing that the video just kind of touched on, like briefly, but I think is important to let people know is it's not necessarily like how intense or how long you're doing the stretching. It's just the frequency mainly that helps. Right. So like that is why it's so important to just make it like a daily habit and make sure you're just doing it often.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best approach. Okay, next one. I don't remember exactly what the next one is, but let's take a look. Hang on. Let me make sure we can get on here. Uh-oh. I think this might be a Facebook one. Or hang on. We're gonna find out. This is a video on, oh my god, my computer's so slow right now. It is on, I think this was the benefits to the stretching.
Go to 1-800. Find the
Let's
perfect
see.
gift.
People you love.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yay,
What do you want to say? Happy
everybody.
See? Happy birthday.
Why is it not letting me skip? All right, we gotta watch that. Yeah, 12 benefits of stretching. So it's just two people talking. The guy kind of gives you different benefits in his conversation with her. So it's a few minutes. Okay, here we go. Benefits of stretching.
So tell me, because a lot of people like stretching is a periphery, like something, like they do their workouts, they or office job or whatever it is, and like maybe they stretch if they have a couple extra minutes, but it's not a priority for a lot of people. So can you just share with us, like, what are the top reasons people need to stretch their bodies?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, for a long time, stretching has always been that thing that people do if they've got time at the end of their workout. Fortunately, over the last few years, I'm actually seeing quite a shift in people's mindset towards stretching and flexibility. I think for a long time, people have been focused on the hardcore sort of training, the no pain, no gain mentality, always pushing to the limits, always trying to, lift heavier weights, run further and faster. And it's, over the last few years, it's all about being, doing more, trying to sort of fit in more to your workout. Over the last few years, I've seen quite a shift towards recovery and rehab and longevity. And, as people start to get older, they start to tighten up a little bit. And, they look at what they're doing now. Maybe it's playing their favorite sport or whatever they like to do to keep active and keep healthy. And they're starting to think long term. They're thinking, well, like you said, you're 46. I turn 50 next year. As people start to get older, they start to think, well, I want to be able to continue this active lifestyle that I'm living. And people are starting to recognize that flexibility is a really important part of longevity. Being able to stay active and keep active into your older years. And fortunately, people are starting to ask questions about stretching and flexibility now that they weren't asking 10 or 20 years ago. So that's been a really positive for me. I've been in this industry for well over 30 years now, and I've pretty much dedicated that entire time to stretching and flexibility. And for a long time, I found it very hard to engage people in conversations about stretching and flexibility and range of motion and just keeping your ability to be able to bend and turn and twist and move and reach. And, for a long time, people weren't really interested. They were only interested in pumping more weight or doing the next high-intensity interval training session or whatever else. So it's been really exciting over the last few years. There's actually been quite an explosion in stretching services now being offered as standalone services. Over the last few years, I've been working with a company that sets up stretching studios, and a little bit like a massage, you can go in, some time with a therapist. and they'll lay you out on a bench, assess you for any weaknesses or imbalances or tight spots you may have, and then they'll create a stretching program that's tailor-made to help you with your particular tight spots and imbalances. So it's really encouraging to see those sort of things happening. I know a lot of personal trainers and sports coaches, etc., are now offering stretching as a standalone service. So you know, a lot of personal trainers, just as you would book a session with a personal trainer to work gym, a lot of personal trainers are now booking sessions with people just to stretch. And they might, you know, lay on the floor for an hour with their client and go through a whole range of different stretches for them. So it's really encouraging to see this sort of shift in mindset and people becoming more interested in what stretching can do for you. I mean, some of the most obvious benefits are, you know, it increases flexibility and range of motion, which just means that you can move around a lot easier. You can get in and out of the car a lot easier. You can go up and down stairs. You can get up from being seated for a while a lot easier. And all this leads to things like a reduction in aches and pains and stiff, tight muscles. A lot of us live a fairly sedentary sort of life now. We spend a lot of time sitting, and in those positions, our muscles and joints, they just tighten up and constrict over time. So having some sort of regular flexibility program is able to will help you reduce those tight spots that we normally experience just from our day-to-day activities. I mean, that's just the start of it for athletes. You're looking at things like long-term stretching has been shown to improve sporting performance. It's been shown to reduce musculotendinous injuries. Doesn't necessarily reduce all sports injuries. For example, a sprained ankle doesn't really matter how much stretching you're going to do. You know, if you fall in a hole or a ditch and you sprain your ankle, you know, nothing is really going to help that. But as far as musculotendinous injuries, things like strains, muscle strains and pulls and those sort of things, long-term stretching has been proven to help reduce those sort of injuries. It helps with recovery, just reducing, stiffness and tightness that you may get from a tough workout. If you incorporate stretching as part of your cool down and in an ongoing recovery process, it will help to reduce that stiffness and soreness that you get. In regards to just, general sort of benefits for stretching and improved flexibility, it helps improve posture. It helps improve your body awareness, just being aware of where your body and your limbs are. It can improve coordination. Stretching promotes circulation, increases energy. And one of my favorites is that it helps improve relaxation and stress relief. So we all need a bit of that these days. So anything that helps to reduce that stress is a great thing.
Okay. A little longer one, but did you get anything out of that?
Yeah.
What did you get out of that?
I mean, for me, I think about when I was a dancer and all that, and gymnast and all that time. And like stretching was part of my day over and over. Every class, we start, warm up, stretch. You know what I mean? And even now, since I don't stretch hardly, I'm way more flexible than almost everybody.
Yeah, good.
So it's something you have to kind of whittle away at all the time. And even with like, they thought I have like RA a little bit, Yeah. Obviously getting your inflammation down through diet and resting helps, but stretching is like, and foam rolling, that's like keeping me, lubricated kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense for sure. Sarah Dawes, anything? If not, that's okay. Okay. Hey, one thing I will say, which I think is cool, is he's talking about how it helps with stress. Hey, anything that can help with stress is always a good thing.
Yeah, lower our cortisol.
Exactly. So that's never a bad idea. Also, I'm gonna just throw this in there. Already told Lauren about this, but I'm
Yeah,
actually for boot camp, I'm gonna start offering a stretching service to you guys. And so basically, I think what I'm gonna do is like have a few time slots after each boot camp, and it'll basically be like $1 a minute. So if you want 5 minutes, $5. You want 10 minutes, $10. I think I'm gonna just have those two options, just so it's not like so people aren't just standing around waiting too long. We'll either do like a 5 or a 10 minute stretch if they want to, and I'll have an area where they can sign up for that. But I'm gonna start offering that. I think.
super, because I really have nobody who can like work on these problems.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna do that. What do you think about that, Sarah?
I love that idea, William.
You really?
So good.
I have to be forced to stretch. I don't know how many times I
Oh
gotta
well,
like you
okay,
gotta
fine. Shit, I didn't. All right. All
Better
right.
safe
Yeah, I think the two options will be either 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll have a limit to how many can do it after each boot camp, but it'll just be like following each boot camp. Whoever wants to do it can sign up, and I will literally stretch you. Literally,
Oh.
yeah,
Fab.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in the group at some point. The next two videos, these are the two that I was gonna have you guys try to participate in. Now, again, you don't have to, but I did post them I posted them in the chat. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
I did.
So you can save those for later. One is dynamic stretch. Now the dynamic stretching that she's doing, I like them, and there's a ton. You'll see. We'll kind of fly through that real quick. Those are good. Again, you do those prior to your workout. You can do them anytime really, but prior to your workout would be smart. And it's actually some stuff we could do at boot camp too, because some of them are like exercises. Like she was doing like the T reaches on there, which we've done for an exercise at boot camp. So some of them are more, they almost look like exercises. And the only thing, this is being a little bit nitpicky about the video, sometimes I think she's holding the stretches for a little bit too long for it to be dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching, the way I've understood it, should be more like fluid, just kind of just keeping your body moving. But which she does. She doesn't hold it for a long time, but sometimes she goes and like holds it for about a second and then does it again, hold it for a second. So, sure there's different ways you can do dynamic stretching, but that's how she's doing it. So let's take a look at these. Hey, if you want to do these, you can. This one I wasn't really going to have people participate in necessarily. It's the next one. This is the dynamic stretching.
With DataCamp, you don't need to download Python to learn Python. You can learn right in your browser with hands-on exercises for coding
We gotta
and
watch-
data
we gotta watch
analysis,
that.
all in a way that makes data kind of
I don't
fun.
have the fancy
Included-
version of YouTube. Okay, here we go. 21 dynamic stretching warm up. Okay, here we go. So this one, few minutes, but you can kind of see what she's doing. Just give you some ideas. And if you don't want to pay attention to the whole thing, you got the link.
And today we're going to go over dynamic stretches. So these are the perfect moves to include in your warm up. They'll both open up and improve your mobility and your flexibility, but they'll also get your blood pumping. There's a lot of different research about stretching before you work out, and static stretching has been shown to sort of reduce your power. It doesn't
See that?
necessarily help you really get warm.
Yeah.
It is great still to do to improve your flexibility, but if you do the dynamic stretches, you'll get warm, you'll improve your mobility, you'll get everything loose and moving. You want to make sure that you focus on dynamic stretches that actually help with the exercises you're going to do during your workout. So it doesn't really help if you're doing ring out the towel if you're going to be doing a leg day. So make sure to focus on moves that will actually help you open up and warm up for your workouts. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe and like it. Also comment below if you have any questions. We are posting new videos each week, and if you want something specific, let us know. Enjoy.
We don't know, except for she's sticking her butt up in there at the end of it. A little different from the T-Rex that we did.
Oh, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, and she's not opening up.
Oh yeah, but I'll open. Yeah, downward. That we.
Except for she's doing that little stretch at the bottom too, though.
Yeah.
That's a good one. This is a good one right here.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if I could do that. I think I could. My hamstrings are actually pretty fun. I can do that one. I can do that. This one's good. This is the hip flexors and the hamstring.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, those are good. Those are all good. Yeah, so she's holding a little bit, but I mean, she's pretty much good. So there's the series we've done.
Yeah. Did a little push up.
She's adding, yeah, she's adding to it. She's getting fancy. Little hamstring stretch. Ooh.
Huh.
Well, her back leg on the ground still. Okay, there we go. That's a good one for upper body.
And ab.
Paradox, there's your strength right there.
Yeah, I see that one.
The guy was doing. Well, I need that one.
Yeah, that feels good.
I need that one too. That would be a good exercise for boot camp right there. You guys better be careful.
Yeah, we kind of do one
You
like
give
it.
me some ideas. Oh, yeah, a little bit. We kind of done something similar. Over here. Now, even though she has 21 on here, there's a lot more you can actually do than just what she's showing you.
You put that in the group?
I put that in the chat.
Yeah.
So you guys can save it. You can refer back to it. That would be a tough one right there.
Have to be.
My God. Okay. This is a good one right here. You put those hips. Now, if you're not flexible, these can actually be pretty tough. These can be pretty tough to do. That's a good one. Yeah, you can do that on your bench.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Ooh. Oh, God. Oh, my goodness. Walking, wide stretch. Okay. Bad one, not a bad one, not a bad one. Okay, we're just about done here. That is tough right there. Well,
Yeah.
I'm only saying that because my shoulders are so tight.
And you're so,
Huh?
because you have so much meat. I've noticed since I
Muscle.
used to be able to do this and like flip over and stuff. And now I have these big lats and shoulders in the way.
Oh, yeah. Hey, they got Avocare on there. I like it. Avocare reset. Okay, guys. So, anyways, some dynamic stretches. Okay, so you can incorporate those things like that prior to your workout. And then again, the next one, it was going over the static stretching, right? So this is the one, like, I thought we were gonna have a bigger group today, but we don't, but that's okay. I thought so this is the one, if you guys want to do it, this will probably be the last video. Shoot. You know what I'm gonna do real quick? The last one kind of goes over foam rolling. We might not have time to get to that, but the foam rolling, you guys, is another good way to increase the flexibility. Primarily, like I said, by loosening up that muscle fascia around the muscles, all right, and breaking up any knots or scar tissue or whatever. Okay. Now, I will post that in the chat too. It's a really quick video. It just kind of doesn't go into detail. It shows you different variations of how to foam roll. They don't spend a lot of time on the one that I try to teach you guys, which is more like trigger point. Which is like, if you find the spot that hurts, you just kind of hold it there.
Yeah.
But they give you some other ideas, which I think is good. There's different ways you can foam roll.
Foam rolling. It's so good.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys want to do this one, you can. If not, you can just kind of watch or whatever. This is like a little stretching routine. So this is the one. This would be good, and this would be good to save for later. You know, like if it's a day off or rest day or whatever, you're not working out, you could always do something like this.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you 7 stretches that I think you should do absolutely every single day. As we all know, stretching is so important for the longevity of our bodies, and if we just take 5 minutes out of every day to stretch, we're going to feel so much better. So this is a really quick stretch routine that you can throw into your morning, the middle of your workday, or in the evening before you go to bed. You don't need any equipment, just something soft beneath you. And without further ado, let's get to it.
7 stretches. Essential.
All right, so first stretch is a lunge. You're going to step your right foot forward, leaning down deep into the lunge and pressing your hips forward. So this is going to stretch out our hip flexors. And I think this is so important because a lot of us are sitting every day and our hip flexors are contracted all the time. So stretching this out is going to feel amazing. If you want to increase the stretch here, you can lift up that arm and reach up and over.
Okay, so we're not gonna sit here and watch all of them, but that's a good stretch you could do. I'm gonna kind of skip forward to the next one. Okay, looks like here. So
Then slowly coming back to center. Next up, we're going to sit down on our buns. You're going to stretch your feet out in front of you. So legs are straight. You're going to bring your right leg up and over. Then you're going to bring the knee in close to the chest and twist. So you want to make sure that you're sitting right on top of this hip. Your hip is driving down into the floor and we're twisting. So you'll feel that stretch in the glute.
okay, so there's that one. Of course, you're gonna do both sides. All right, and then it looks like the butterfly.
To bring the soles of your feet together and let those knees fall open. Again, lift that booty and make sure that you're sitting right on
Now,
top
keep in
of
mind,
those
for each of
hips.
these
So try
muscle
and send the
groups, there's
booty back
tons of different ways
a
you
little
can
bit.
stretch them. So
And you want to keep your back flat.
you should find
Keep it
one
as straight
that
as possible.
you
This
feel the
stretch is
most.
going to look different for everybody. Some of us might be up here. Some of us might be completely flat. It's all going to depend on our hip flexibility. I love this stretch. This is a stretch that we were taught from a very young age when I took dance. This is probably the first stretch that we ever do. And it's to really help open up those hips. And again, a lot of us are sitting with our hips contracted all day. Not a lot of us are spending time opening up our hips every day. So I love doing this stretch. It's a really great hip relief.
Okay, next
And
one.
we don't spend time doing the opposite. So we're going to spend a few seconds here opening up that chest. You're going to clasp your hands behind your head. We're going to first contract forward, bringing the elbows in front of us. Then we're going to do the opposite. Open those elbows up, open the chest, and lift your gaze toward the ceiling.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting one.
Try and let those elbows fall out as far as
That one hurt.
What?
That one hurts. I need it.
Open up. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay. Interesting one there. Almost like a dynamic stretch. Okay, the next one looks like she's doing rear delts.
coming back down to center. Comfortable for you. You can stretch out the neck.
Let's get back.
Regular old shoulder stretch. But as you're doing this, I want you to think about pressing the shoulder blades down the back. So keeping the shoulders pressed down as far as possible. And then from here, if it feels comfortable for you, you can stretch out the neck. I absolutely love this stretch, especially if I'm sitting at my computer all day. Pressing the shoulders down and stretching out that neck just feels so good.
There you go, Dosh. You
Don't
might
push
need that
yourself
one.
too far. Just let that head kind
My
of hang.
favorite.
Yeah. Get that one. All right, let's see here. Ooh.
Hopefully everybody
Next
will
one.
remember to stretch because it hurts. So a lot of us avoid doing it, even myself.
So we're gonna do it today together. We're gonna come down into
So it's
a
like a
crouch
stretch that she
position.
was doing a
And when you
dynamic
set
stretch.
your booty up, I want you to think about keeping your upper body as close to your quads as possible. Try and keep a flat back as we're doing this. So you're gonna come down, send the legs up, or send the booty up. Hold for a couple seconds, and then come back down. You can do this as many times as you like. You can hold for as long as you like. If you feel the stretch and your legs are still bent, feel free to just hold here. Again, try and keep your upper body close to your leg.
And the next one's almost like a little yoga thing.
Close position, and I'm gonna try and do this without
But
moving my puppy. So you're gonna come down. I might have to. Ooh, sweetie. You're taking up just a little bit too much space. You're gonna come down into a cobra position. So you're gonna let
Dog's
those
like, how
hips
dare you.
fall down into the floor. This is
that's
really
actually a good
stretching out
stretch. That's for your
hip
ham or your
flexors,
hip flexors and
and
your
we're gonna
core.
press those shoulder blades down.
That's that.
Then from here, you're gonna roll through the spine. So we're really lubricating that spine, coming back down into
Wow,
a
so you-
child's pose.
Wow.
And here you can let the knees fall open and reach those fingertips towards the top of your mat.
The heater one, right?
And then same thing, rolling through that spine, coming back down into cobra. You can do this as many times as feels comfortable.
There, you guys got
You
that
can
one.
go as fast or as slow as you want.
And then that might have been the last one. She's knocking those up. She just repeats it a few times. I think that's it.
And tell me if you've noticed a difference.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up for
That's
me.
it. So, I mean, look, again, there's tons and tons of different kinds of stretches. Also, it's pretty common when you stretch, like when you're doing an exercise, you might be targeting a certain area, but you could feel it a lot of different areas. That's fine. I always tell people like that's normal, but just try to make sure you feel it in the area you're supposed to feel it. Right. So I think that's about it, you two. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No.
Okay.
No, you did post all these videos though, William?
I didn't post all of them. I posted the ones that went over the stretches, like that one and then the dynamic stretching.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I posted those two. So yeah, you can refer back to those. Hey, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go through both of those, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, even daily, but yeah. So yeah, this one was a little more dull than the other topics, but it's still, I think, very necessary to try to emphasize it, you know. And other than that, I mean, hey, thanks for jumping on. I will post all the updates and stuff, and I'm gonna post in the group. Actually, I'm gonna try to do it today, pretty soon here. About the stretching.
But I'm hot constantly.
Huh?
Oh, I'm talking to my maintenance man.
Oh, okay. All right, you two. Hey, thanks for jumping on.
Hey, I appreciate it. And I don't know if it's possible, but I think my mom wants to be added.
To the group?
Yeah.
Yeah, she can be at it.
Okay, cool. Can I add her or you?
I gotta send her an invite.
Okay. Because I
Alright.
told her.
I can send an invite to you, and then you can send it to her.
Yeah, whatever. Y'all are friends on Facebook.
All right, cool.
bye, Lauren.
We'll see you
Hey.
next time.
Hey,
Have a good
Um,
one.
Okay.
okay, I'll see y'all Saturday.
Yes, ma'am. See you.
Bye.